Okay, so another Concertina sketchbook making activity for you. And this one explores the concept of busy and quiet. I call them busy, quiet sketchbooks because it's a really nice way of exploring and discovering just how valuable it can be in a painting, as it is in life, of course, to have a good balance between quiet and busy. Too much quiet in a painting and it can be sort of boring and flat. Too much busyness and things can get overwhelming. But if we get the balance right, things can work really well. And I think you'll agree that each page of this sketchbook demonstrates that. So art meeting life, balance and a good balance. What we all need, I think. So I did some of these, and I'm going to suggest you start at least with just keeping these very simple, either with a single colour plus white, or black and white. I did go on and I did have a play with experimenting with some more colours, but I think the monochrome ones work really well. So that's what I'm going to show you now. I'm going to make a black and white one to show you. This one I use Prussian blue, but you could choose any dark colour, any good strong dark opaque colour. If you want to experiment with colours, a brown could be nice, for example, couldn't it? Or a red could be interesting. So what you'll need to join in with this is you'll need some paper, and this size I made using A4. If you wanted to make a longer or a bigger sketchbook, you might want to go up to this size. So obviously this is UK sizes A4, but I think it's the same across the world, that it's this basically printer paper, standard printer paper size. And I've gone for a sort of medium weight cartridge here, but they're fine. You can also work with just ordinary, quite lightweight printer paper, or if you wanted to make something more substantial, you could play with using card. And I'm thinking these would be really quite nice to send. I'm thinking of making some of these as sort of unusual birthday cards. I might add some writing or something around them. I think it might be really nice to make some of these on card and send them to people. So so you'll need paper. You'll need brushes, and I'm going for a really good variety. In order for something to be busy, we want lots of difference. So I've gone for a big brush and some medium size and a very, very tiny brush as well, just to explore. I need paint, and I just need black paint and white paint. I'm just doing a monochrome version. And if you want, like I did, to introduce some drawing materials, which I think are really nice and can add to the busyness, then you're going to need to obviously just match your drawing materials to whatever paints you're using. So for this one, I used Prussian blue paint, and I found a Prussian blue water-soluble crayon in amongst my collection. So just stick with simple colours for this. Once you've done one or two, you might want to push out in new directions with some additional colours, but I would suggest starting simple. You'll need a mixing palette, obviously, and you'll need a water pot, some water. And when we come to the cutting and the sticking, obviously you'll need a pair of scissors and some glue. And if you want to make a long one, and I'll show you how to do that, as well, a longer one, then you'll need some tape. So I'm going to get started, and the first stage of this is we're going to make two sides to this piece of paper. One side is going to be very quiet and one side is going to be very busy, and we're going to start with the busy side. And this really is an opportunity for you to put some energy into painting and not to get hung up. So here's a piece I practiced on earlier. I really went for it with this. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make this side of my paper as busy as I can possibly make it. And I'm going to use my black and my white because titanium white, which I'm using, is actually quite different from the white of the paper. So I want to incorporate some white paint rather than just letting the white paper show through, even though it might seem unnecessary. It does, it is better to do that. So I'm going to get started with some black and some white here. Just get plenty of black and white paint in my palette. And I'm not going to use the same brush. I'm going to keep different brushes for different, I'm going to keep the brushes separate for this. And I'm going to start with some really busy drawing on this piece of paper. I'm going to think about what busy means in terms of drawing with this black pastel. This is busy, isn't it? Mark making, busy mark making. And I'm going to come in with some of my white paint, I think, first of all, and just, even though it's very close to the white of the paper, it is whiter, so I'm going to get some of this on here. I'm really letting myself paint a bit like a child here, just getting some paint on this piece of paper. Right, I'm going for it with some black now, and I want to think about how I can make this piece of paper as busy as possible. Different mark making. Might just come in with a thinner brush here. Think about some busy lines, and I want to go right off the edge of my paper here. Turn it around, which is why I've got a piece of paper underneath. You'll need that. So, busy. I can have a lot of fun with this. Just playing with lines and shapes and patterns that are going to make this side of my paper as busy as I can possibly make it. Some interesting shapes here. It's quite fun sometimes just to enjoy playing with black and white without all the complexities of colour. Big line here. Going for a real variety of shapes and sizes. Might come in with a bit more of my white at some point. Let's do some more drawing. This is a water-soluble crayon, so I can wet it up and get a really good black line. I really can just have some fun with this. I can always come back in with some white if it gets too dark. Let's do some really fine line. Just make this really varied. I can come in. It's getting busy. Take some just shapes through here. Maybe some big areas of black, because I can always come back in with some white over the top of these. Some mark making, trying to keep my my white paintbrush clean, but it's not the end of the world. If it gets a bit messed up, just get some white in here. I'm painting over what I've done. I'm just aiming for busyness, so it's a real opportunity not to get too hung up. I think that is probably busy enough. Let's just find some places that aren't busy as they could be. we can safely say that's busy, don't you? Okay, I've let these dry while I had lunch, and I've got two really busy pieces of paper now. And I did come back. I used a hairdryer. A hairdryer is a really good tool to have to hand. Used a hairdryer to dry the paint off a bit so I could come back in with some white over the top, and really just went for it with, you know, just looking for areas on these pieces that could do with a bit more busyness, and just bringing in anything I can anywhere, just to make sure that this side of my paper is as busy as it possibly can be. I came back in with a bit of my white paint as well. So the other side of the paper is now going to be a quiet side. And so I've mixed some of my black and my white just to create some different greys. Then I'm going to use in a very nice soft way on the other side of this paper. And I'm looking for my paint to be as flat and quiet as I can possibly make it. I do want a bit of variation, so I'm going to bring in a bit of grey here and just look at how I can blend this so it's all really quiet. So we can get a bit darker and a bit lighter in places, but we want this side of the paper to be really quiet. Bit of darker grey here, but again I can just play. I can even use a finger if I want, just to smudge this paint. So I'm looking for something really quiet. Just blend these colours together. So I've got variation on this side, but it's quiet. Quiet. Greys. It's very different energy painting with this, sort of trying to get this so it is a much quieter energy going into this side of the paper. So we're going to be exploring, as many of you will be aware, I've been promoting the next module of Adventurous Painters, which is the more in-depth programme that runs alongside this free group. There are still places available. If any of you aren't aware of it or haven't yet signed up, then and think this could be interesting, then we'll be extending this idea on the next module of sort of how art can reflect life, and this idea of balance is one of the concepts we're going to be exploring in more detail. Balance between life, balance between busyness and quiet, and how valuable that can be in a painting. So head over to my website if you're interested in the programme, where you'll find out a lot more. We're thinking about how we can represent our lives, stories of the self, how we can represent, or how we can, when we tune in to what's going on inside us, we can get ideas for painting by sort of looking inward. Last module we were looking at the landscape, looking out at the outdoors, looking externally, looking outside of ourselves. This next module we're going to be coming inside, thinking about how our own lives, memories, experiences, emotions can give us really rich starting points for paintings. Okay, so now I've got my quiet side and I've got my busy side, and we can see how they contrast. I'm going to finish the back of this one, do the back of this one now. Okay, my papers are nice and dry now on both sides. I used a hairdryer again, and I think you'll agree that there's already, we're getting this sense of this lovely balance between busyness and quietness. So I'll show you what to do now, and this is where you'll need some glue, and I've got a manky old brush that I use for glue, or a glue stick and some scissors. And but just to say, while we're just thinking about this, if you are wanting to do one where you're incorporating some colour, a colour rather than black and white, then obviously your quiet side needs to be a blend. Similarly, a blend of your colour and white, and you can add a bit of black as well if you want it really soft. But this one was just Prussian blue and white, and variations on that mix. And this is how we start to achieve colour harmony, when we start sort of paring down and simplifying the number of colours that we use for any painting that we're working on. So again, this is something we go into in a lot more depth, colour harmony, colour theory, in the Adventurous Painters group. And we're going to be particularly thinking about colours that have significance for us on that module, how we can make paintings that incorporate colour that has meaning for us, and most importantly, how we can use our other colours to show that colour off to its best advantage. So again, we're kind of going to be going inside and thinking about colours that are meaningful and significant to us. But for simplification, we're staying very simple, very monochrome, just to keep things simple with this activity. So I'm going to make one of these into a sketchbook now, and I'm going to pick one of these. I quite like this one. So the next stage is very simple. We need to fold this piece of paper in half and cut it in half along its length. Let's see, if you've got a paper cutter, it's a whole lot easier. I'm going to use my bigger scissors for this cut. If you've got a cutting board and a knife, you could do a more accurate job than I'm doing with my scissors, but this will be fine. Now, if I want to make a longer sketchbook, this is where I can join, as we did on the last sketchbook activity actually, those of you who did it, we made long sketchbooks by joining. So if I want to make a long sketchbook, I will do one. Join these two pieces together with a bit of tape. Let's try and get them lined up fairly accurately. You can do a more accurate job than I've done if you want to. If I don't want to use, if I don't want a long sketchbook, if I want one like this, then I just need half of my paper. And I get two sketchbooks. Two for the price of one. So I think I'll just do a small one to start with. So I'm going to just fold my paper lengthways. Make sure you can see this. I'm curious that that's ended up wider anyway. I'm going to fold this in half. And in half again. I'm then going to open my paper out. I'm going to cut some shapes out of each of these pages on one edge. And I can just think about cutting some interesting shapes here. And I want to keep the pieces that I'm cutting out. If I want to come in and do a circle, I can just, or an oval, I can just cut it out like that, and when I glue it, I'm going to have my circle. And of course on these end ones, we can come in from the side if I want to. So, this is where now my busyness gets delightfully revealed in amongst these lovely neutral greys. It's rather nice with this shape in here. So now I can take a bit of glue. I've got a paintbrush that won't fit in my glue pot. I've just found a smaller brush that will fit. I'm being lazy, I could have put some out, couldn't I, in a bowl. So I can now just put some glue on each page here. Working out roughly where I need my glue, but it doesn't have to be too accurate. And I can stick down each page in turn. Each one of these is a joy. Balance of busyness and quiet. Just using a finger just to make sure the edges are well sealed. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do with this. Versions in different colours, your own take on busyness, your own style of busyness in your painting. Now on the reverse, and I should let this dry really, but I'll just do one. On the reverse, I can have fun with my little cutouts. And decide perhaps where they're going to go and which one's going to look best on which page. So if you've enjoyed having a play with this, you'll enjoy the tasks that I set on the Adventurous Painters programme. They're always kind of playful. They're very experiential. I do believe in learning by doing. The more we paint, the more we learn to paint. And so you get a task every week. Different painting task, exploring different aspects of painting, colour, composition, harmony, balance, line, texture, techniques for applying paint. for 10 weeks. 10 weeks of tasks. All supported by the Facebook group. It's a lovely group. Lots of people are coming back this term who've done either the last module or the last 2 modules. Really keen to come back and do more. So I know we've got a really nice group. And it'd be lovely to have a few more of you as part of that. So, if I wanted to do a longer one, I've got to fold the whole thing. And then I'll end up with a longer sketchbook, more pages. So, have a play with this and enjoy. And reflect as you do on your own balance in life, how you balance busyness and rest. Whether your life is too quiet, needs more busyness, or whether it's too busy and needs more quiet. I look forward to seeing what you do. Okay, I've just finished this long one. Well, I haven't finished actually because I haven't stuck my cutouts on the back. Just been thinking about where they're going to go. Some of them are really nice. That one's almost like a pebble. Really lovely. So I'm going to have fun with that. I just love some of these pages. They're like little paintings in their own right, little mini artworks, and some of them work better than others. Some of them I particularly like. So do pick out favourite pages from yours and share them with us. That's another favourite with that line, that lovely busy line on that one against the plain, the quiet. And if you're interested in adventurous painters, just to give you my website address again, if you're interested, I think you might be interested in joining that group, taking your painting to the next level, then head over to fionagodfreyart.com. You'll find out everything you need to know about the programme, and the booking will close on the 3rd of September, Friday the 3rd of September, and the new separate Facebook group for that module, that programme, will open on the following Monday, the 6th. So head over there if you're interested to know more, and if you've enjoyed, particularly if you've enjoyed this activity, playing with paint and what it can do for us, then you're going to get a lot out of my Adventurous Painters group. So do join us.